What?
Talking about on camera or off?
What?
What you were just talking about.
He wants to dump the soundbite, so I'm going to paraphrase
Okay.
what Bowden said, leading you into here are the two guys who can make it. Your stuff is exactly the same.
Okay. One who, Jim?
Michigan.
Okay.
They look like they're short timeouts, though. They're not going to breaks.
What time is it right now?
Hope Washington gets a first down. Huh? We're not doing this. There's any chance. First down, another timeout. Yeah. You know what? We can always do that early in the game. I think that's an important thing to do. And still package it up with that graphic about the 76 offensive line starts against 3. You all right? 1. We're ahead. Shaky, though.
This will be a draw play or a screen pass.
Throw the home run ball.
I don't think he'll do that with the field position on the 12.
Plus, you know what? I wouldn't even worry about him being in field goal range with that kicker. You know what I mean? Although your putter's awfully shaky, too. I have a feeling this ain't happening, Jimbo. Well, the band's still out there. First down, ball game over.
Hey, Jimmy, can you feel the Wolverines' love here? It grew into the great comeback wins. Uh-oh, he almost got to it. Came so close to getting to it. It looked like he almost got a piece of that punt. They came so close to blocking that. Couldn't hope for a better result. That almost hit him.
Missed.
People were asking me in LA, they go, Neuheisel's not going to wear a sweater vest, is he? I was going, there's no way. Not this time of year.
I can't imagine we're going to do our open now.
Got you. I got you.
Hello.
Clear, loud and clear.
Hello, hello. That's too bad. We had really nice elements in that open. You want to try to condense it? Or
Who frickin' who?
I'm getting like a really hollow kind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Hey, Jim. How about no, you Dutch bastard?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that, are we like in an echo thing here?
It's a sweat. What's that? Here.
I'm hearing like a little hollow, echoey kind of deal. That's all right.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm catching a little of that.
Yeah, no, it's not a big deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Chief Osceola. Yeah, baby. Whoa.
Fumble. And Michigan got it back. A huge break.
The receiver fumble? I wasn't watching. I was watching Osceola.
Yeah, what is that?
Didn't
Like
see
a
the
weird
ball.
tunnel noise. Like the crowd noise is coming out of a.
They may just have to go ahead and score a touchdown because I think Nienberg. Oh, he's going deep.
Where's my flip card that I wrote on? My flip card that I wrote on? Yeah. This one here, I got it. Wally Lundy had difficulty with the opening kickoff for Virginia. He downed it in the back of the end zone, so the Cavaliers will begin 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line, led by redshirt freshman quarterback Marcus Hagans from Hampton, Virginia. Saw his first collegiate action last week against Colorado State, coming off the bench and splitting time with Matt Schaub. He'll likely see most of the action here today at quarterback for Virginia. Wally Lundy and Case Luzard in the opening backfield. It's Lundy for a tough 2 yards, running left and tackled by Michael Boulware. The outside linebacker wearing number 58 for the Florida State defense, which gave up more than 400 yards and 31 points against Iowa State last week. Second down and 8. Alvin Pearman now in at tailback. Hagans is going to run. And he has a first down running across the 30-yard line, chased out by the safety Kyler Hall.
Yeah, I'll be entering the picture here in a second. All right. Go ahead, take it, John. I'll take it from this play.
Al Groh and the Virginia Cavaliers at 0-1 after their opening loss to Colorado State, 35-29. They lost in heartbreaking fashion. The game ended with the Cavs at the 1-yard line. Lundy dragging tacklers with him and across the 40-yard line to the 41. Tackled by Jerome Carter. Good lead block on the play by the tight end Heath Miller. And the young Cavaliers showing no signs of being affected by playing against
Florida State, they're playing in front of this big crowd at Doak Campbell Stadium. 2 first downs. They're crisply on the move more than 1 minute in.
And Wally Lundy picking up where he left off last Thursday night, entered the game in the second series and showed upperclassman type talent throughout that game. Almost broke the century mark.
The handoff goes to Michael Johnson, another of the freshmen. He's a true freshman from Newport News, Virginia. Out to the 45. A gain of 3 on first down. Rufus Brown, one of the starting cornerbacks, made the stop for the Seminoles.
The ACC is going to see a lot of Lundy and Johnson in the upcoming years. These guys bring an aspect of speed to the field that fans have become familiar with down in Tallahassee out of this Florida State team.
Lundy trying to turn the corner, and he's tackled by Kendall Pope. Short gain on the play out to the 47. It'll bring 3rd down and 4. On 3rd and 4, Hagans lunges but is well short of the first down.
That was a solid decision by Hagans to not deal the ball off on the option play. And last week, Colorado State, in their preparations, I don't think in their wildest dreams that they thought they'd be facing option offense out of Virginia with a Matt Schaub starting quarterback.
So it'll be a punt situation for Virginia. Tom Hagan will punt it to Dominic Robinson. Very high kick. And the catch made by Robinson at the 12-yard line. A 39-yard punt and no return. So Florida State takes over on offense for the first time today, led by Chris Ricks, the sophomore, ACC Freshman of the Year a year ago. And he passed for 248 yards per game. Nick Maddox and Greg Jones, the split backs alongside Ricks, and there was movement along the right end of the offensive line. Alex Barron making his first career start today for the injured Ray Lewis. A little bit anxious to get going. Jim Knight leading our Atlantic Coast Conference officiating crew today. On 1st and 15 now. Ricks rolling out and running out to the 19-yard line. Our holiday weekend bash presented by AT&T Wireless continues at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, where today number 5 Florida State begins its ACC season against the Virginia Cavaliers. Sean McDonough along with David Norrie, delighted to have you with us. This game just underway. Bobby Bowden's team won the opening toss and deferred. Kicked off to Virginia. The Cavaliers picked up 2 first downs entirely on running plays, but then punted from midfield. And now Florida State is on offense for the first time. 2nd and 3. And the pass from Chris Ricks to Robert Morgan dropped. That'll bring up 3rd down and 3 for Florida State from their own 20-yard line. Chris Ricks, the sophomore from Santa Margarita, California, the ACC Rookie of the Year last year, when he averaged over 248 yards per game passing. Those numbers pretty good, David, but the number that the fans here are thinking about, the record last year, 8-4, a major disappointment for Florida State.
Yeah, worst season in 14 years for the Florida State Seminoles. And Chris Ricks, a lot of people forget he ended up the season in the top 10 in passing efficiency, so not a bad year for a freshman.
He scrambles and is very close to the first down. He appears to have it. Out at the 25-yard line, Darrell Blackstock chased him out of bounds. The rest of the Alamo starting lineup for the Florida State Seminoles. The backs and receivers, B.J. Dean, the blocking fullback for Greg Jones. Morgan and Bolden back to bolster the offense. Both out all of last year with knee injuries. And along the offensive line today, Alex Barron jumps in at tackle, starting for the injured Ray Willis. He is out with an ankle injury, but it is a veteran, talented group. There are many who believe it's the best offensive line in the country. All 5 offensive starters returning from a year ago. Ricks with some running room. First down and more. Out across the 45. And dives down at the 48-yard line of Virginia. 27 yards on the run for Ricks and a first down for the Seminoles.
Chris Ricks has competed in 13 games in his young career. And I'll tell you what, he brings an aspect from the quarterback position of running the football that is very hard to defend. In each of those 13 games, he's picked up positive yardage. Pretty nice cut there in the center of the field to get additional yardage, and a smart play to get down at the end of the run. Don't take the contact.
And there was a flag down at the end of the play.
Illegal block in the back by the offense. The ball will be marked from the dead ball spot, 10 yards, first down.
Jim Knight, the referee, leading this Atlantic Coast Conference officiating crew. And the penalty brings the ball back to the Florida State 42-yard line. Florida State comes in at 1-0. A narrow victory over Iowa State in the opener in Kansas City last week. They raced off to a 24-point lead and held on to win by a touchdown when they stopped the Iowa State quarterback, Seneca Wallace, at the 1-yard line as he was attempting to score the tying touchdown. Greg Jones lost his helmet and lost yardage as well, back to the 38-yard line. Angelo Crowell and Merrill Robertson, a couple of inside linebackers, combining to bring down Jones, and you need more than one usually. He's 248 pounds. A very young and inexperienced defensive front. Schmidt, Hoffman, and Robinson each made his first career start last week against Colorado State. A veteran linebacking core anchored by Angelo Crowell, a school record 144 tackles last season, and keep an eye on Darrell Blackstock, one of 10 true freshmen who played for Al Groh last week. They have a very talented freshman class that was brought in by Al Groh and his staff. And some sloppy performance here on offense for Florida State. Already their 3rd penalty on this possession. And the Virginia secondary, a veteran group: Art Thomas, Chris Williams, Jerton Evans, and Jermaine Winborn. You'll also see a lot of Shenard Newby. Al Groh considers Newby, Williams, and Evans all starters in the secondary, and he rotates those 3 at safety. Second down and 19. They've backed up from the 48 after the Ricks run. Back to their own 33 after the penalties. The pass is caught by Nick Maddox, and he lost the football. But they would have ruled him down by contact. They'll spot the ball back near the 43-yard line. Maddox, an excellent receiver out of the backfield, caught 26 last year.
And one of the big problems you have with the young quarterback is operating the game from the line of scrimmage. Florida State very shaky starting off the game a week ago against Iowa State. A couple penalties here early. And Chris Ricks on second down trying to get some yards back to create a manageable situation here on 3rd and long.
That looked like it should have been a fumble. That ball looked like it was squirting out before Maddox hit the ground. 3rd down and 9. Ricks with some time. He's across the line of scrimmage now, and he's collared from behind by Merrill Robertson, short of the first down at the 49-yard line. So if you're Al Groh, so far so good, David. They moved the ball, got a couple of first downs on their first offensive possession, and his defense is hanging in there right now.
And what's important is they move the ball on the ground some. The challenge for Al Groh is going to be to keep his offense two-dimensional, move the ball on the ground some, work the clock against this Florida State defense. And defensively for the Cavaliers, it's a nice opening set of downs keeping Chris Ricks contained in the pocket after that first big play on the ground that he made down the field.
Booming punt by Chance Gwaltney, and it lands about 9 yards deep in the end zone. A 51-yard punt, but just a net of 31 for the senior Chance Gwaltney. No score in Tallahassee. Marcus Hagans, the starting quarterback today for Virginia. His second series as the starter. He goes deep, looking for Billy McMullen, their All-American wide receiver. Stanford Samuels close by in coverage. And it'll be 2nd and 10. For you Virginia fans just joining us, it might be a surprise that Hagans is the starter. He came off the bench against Colorado State, and the Cavs lost last week in Charlottesville, and played very well, as those numbers would indicate. Al Groh feels he brings speed, a much needed dimension to this game against Florida State. So he's going to give Hagans and not the junior Matt Schaub the start. We do anticipate seeing Schaub from time to time off the bench. Hagans is a redshirt freshman from Hampton, Virginia, and in trouble and chased out of bounds near the 20-yard line. Kevin Emanuel ran him out. Now the Virginia backs and receivers brought to you by Alamo. Case Luzar, a converted tight end, is the fullback. Wally Lundy, a true freshman at tailback, with McMullen and McGrew the wide receivers, and Miller, a converted quarterback at tight end. A young and inexperienced offensive line, a true freshman to Brickashaw Ferguson at left tackle. And Kevin Bailey, in the opinion of Al Groh, one of the best centers in the conference. He believes Bailey and Antoine Marambo, the Florida State center, are the two best in the ACC. Nothing doing for Virginia. Kevin Emanuel stuffs Hagans. And after picking up 2 first downs on their first possession, a poor possession for Virginia, and the Cavs will have to punt from their own 18-yard line.
Yeah, pretty good play calling there by Al Groh and his offensive staff. Not a good spot on the field to take a risk, and Marcus Hagan going to keep the ball on a quarterback draw, live to fight another day.
Hagan has his punt blocked into the end zone and out. Jared Hetzel, a reserve defensive back, senior from Bellevue, Florida, who came into this program as a walk-on with one of the biggest plays, if not the biggest, of his career. And that was pretty easy, coming right up the middle, virtually untouched.
Yeah, the pressure came immediately, and if you're going to protect the punter, you protect from the inside out. You don't let a player come free right up the gut. That looked easy for Hetzel.
2-0, Florida State.
Welcome back to New York in the Olive Garden update. Colorado facing Colorado State. Remember Jeremy Bloom, the Olympic freestyle skier, had to give up his endorsements to play for Colorado? 75 yards on this punt return for a touchdown, so he pays dividends. Chris Brown also had a 1-yard touchdown run to put Colorado on top, but Colorado State has just reclaimed the lead, 19-14.
And obviously, John, the Virginia fans well aware that that's a good Colorado State team. The Colorado State squad came into Charlottesville and beat Virginia last week, 35-29. Off the free kick, a kickoff by Kurt Smith, returned by Talman Gardner all the way across the field and out of bounds at the 39-yard line. They'll mark him out at the 40. A 29-yard return of the free kick. Willie Davis made the tackle. ABC's College Football Holiday Weekend Bash is presented by AT&T Wireless. AT&T, welcome to M-Life. AT&T Wireless. And in part by Chrysler. Drive equals love. By the Hartford, always thinking ahead. And by Budweiser, who salutes America's designated drivers. Greg Jones, the tailback, on 1st and 10. And he's out to the 44 for gain of 4, tackled by Brennan Schmidt. Al Groh's biggest concern coming into this game was that defensive front. They play a 3-4, which Al brought with him from the NFL. Schmidt, along with Hoffman and Robinson, each started his first game. 2 of the 3 had never even played in the game before last week. They're playing against a very good offensive line.
Yeah, if this Florida State offensive line isn't the best in the country, it's in the top 2 or 3. Quite an offensive line lining up down in Miami right now, but that is the key to this game. Will they be able to bloody them with the ground game?
Jones bounces off a hit and keeps going. He shed the freshman Darrell Blackstock and got knocked out of bounds by Chris Williams. A gain of 12 for Jones, a junior from Beaufort, South Carolina, who's rushed for more than 100 in each of his last 3 regular season games.
Well, Virginia wants to start out defending this run game with the 7-man front. But early on here, Florida State continues to have success. Virginia's going to have to get one of 2 safeties and maybe even 2 safeties up into the run defense. Greg Jones, a tremendous combination of power and speed.
Last week against Iowa State, the Seminoles ran 43 running plays, just 25 pass plays. Bit of a departure from the norm over the years. They have an excellent line and very good running backs, and they're going to pound it at the opponents a bit more often this year. Jones ahead for a couple. It'll be 2nd and 8 from the 44-yard line of Virginia. Jones remains the tailback in the I. He rushed for 113 last week against the Cyclones. Looking for help running right. And then got collared by Merrill Robertson at the 40-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down and 5.
That's a solid play by Robertson from his backside linebacking position, keeping discipline, keeping his shape on the field. And as Jones tried to cut back the daylight, Robertson was there to shut things down. Let's take a look at Greg Jones a week ago. 3rd consecutive 100-yard game. Go back to the Gator Bowl against Virginia Tech last year, went over 100 yards. And the Hokies were the #2 defense in the country against the rush.
On 3rd down, Ricks steps up. He's across the line of scrimmage and past the 1st down marker. Pulled down by Chris Williams, but it's a 1st down for the Seminoles at the 33-yard line. They're down to 5:42 remaining in the 1st quarter. Florida State, which has won the last 6 in this rivalry, leads 2-0. Ricks has already rushed for 56 yards for Bobby Bowden.
Ricks will not hesitate to tuck it and run. In fact, Florida State offensive coaches have been trying to work with him to stay more poised in the pocket, take a couple extra counts to work through his progression.
Here's Jones again. 1st down inside the 20, powering his way inside the 15. And finally taken down by Shenard Newby after a rumble of 20. It'll be 1st and 10 for Florida State from the 12-yard line.
Jones signaling to the sideline for a breather. This is 250 pounds of tailback, and he can run a sub-4 440. If you do not get into number 6's legs early, he's going to gather momentum and he's going to punish defensive backs. And this Florida State rushing game is rolling early in this football game.
Picking up where they left off last week against Iowa State, and really more of the same for the Virginia defense. Cavaliers struggled mightily last year against the run. They allowed 203 yards per game rushing. And in the game last year between these two up at Charlottesville, the Seminoles rushed for 318 yards against Virginia. Ricks pulls it down, dumps it over the middle, complete for a short gain to the 7-yard line of Nick Maddox. He had Shenard Newby draped around his back.
Now, looks like Ricks may be a little bit shaken up after that last play. He left his feet to make the throw over the middle. Take a look on the replay here. Give you an idea of the athletic ability of Ricks. Watch, he throws that ball on the way down, and Crowell, the All-American linebacker, got into his legs.
Maddox, the tailback. Torrance Washington, a true freshman, now at fullback, leading the way for Maddox. Bounces off the pile at the 5 and lunges to the 4. A yard short of the 1st down. It'll be 3rd down and 1. We're under 4 minutes left. This quarter moving very quickly as Florida State is just chewing up big chunks of yardage on the ground.
Everybody across the country that watch this Bobby Bowden program, they associate his offense with throwing the football. But if you give this Florida State Seminole team an opportunity to move it on the ground, they're going to stick with the ground game until you stop it.
On 3rd and 1, it's the fullback. Washington, touchdown. First collegiate touchdown for Torrance Washington, just his second collegiate carry for the true freshman from Madison County, Florida. And the Noles lead 8-0. Xavier Bethea on to try the extra point. He was 5 for 5 in PATs last week in Kansas City, and 1 for 1 today. Power football from the Seminoles, and a 9-0 lead in the first quarter in Tallahassee. Florida State has a 9-0 lead with 3:20 remaining in the first quarter. Sean McDonough and David Norrie, the scoring drive, 60 yards, 9 plays. Took nearly 5 minutes. Action on the ground. And completed by Torrance Washington. Bethea kicks it off to Willie Davis at the goal line. And a nice return. He battled his way all the way out to the 26, where he was tackled by Jared Hetzel. Let's check in with John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Well, Sean, a lot of people expect a lot out of the veteran Jeff Smoker at quarterback for Michigan State, facing Eastern Michigan today. 19 yards, threads the needle there for the touchdown, and the Spartans grab a 7-0 lead over Eastern Michigan.
And here in Tallahassee, a 9-0 lead for Florida State. Block punt for a safety. And a touchdown run by Washington. Still Higgins at quarterback. Looking desperately for a receiver. Had one, and the ball came out. And they're going to roll it an incomplete pass. Intended for Billy McMullen. Stanford Samuels ripped it out. And the officials ruled it incomplete. McMullen never had it.
Samuels was almost gone the other way for 6. Higgins did such a great job last week against Colorado State, keeping things clean, taking care of the football. That was not a very good passing decision on the roll to the left. And McMullen, the All-American receiver, doing a great job to help his quarterback out.
Here's Alvin Pearman in a tailback, and he gets stacked up for no gain. At the 26-yard line, Eric Moore, reserve defensive end, leading the surge. It'll be 3rd down and 10. There's Moore, sophomore from Pahokee, Florida. Signed with the Seminoles as a linebacker, moved to defensive end. Played in 10 games last year. He was a high school teammate in Pahokee of Anquan Bolden, now a wide receiver for the Seminoles. Bolden was a quarterback in high school. Empty backfield. Luzar moved back into it. Higgins throws into traffic, incomplete. Looking for Michael McGrew, and knocked down by Malcolm Tatum. And then some flags thrown very late.
Now those flags came about as late as they can come in a football game. And I think they're going to drop the laundry on Tatum, Samuel's cornerback mate.
Well, those were very late flags.
Pass interference on the defense. The ball will be slotted at the point of infraction. 1st down automatic.
Well, over the years, the Florida State defense plays aggressively. And you see there Tatum into the back, over the top. That's a good call.
Pearman took the handoff from Higgins, and a tough run by the sophomore Pearman, wearing number 21, which was worn by Tiki Barber during his time at Virginia. Of course, Tiki Has gone on to success in the NFL with the New York Giants, and similar size backs. Neither one of them particularly big, but they run more powerfully than their physical stature might indicate.
And Pierman was forced into action a year ago when Antoine Womack, very talented tailback for Virginia, went down in the opener against Wisconsin and ended up being the Cavaliers' leading rusher. Now he fits in with those two talented true freshmen.
Nowhere to go for Michael Johnson, another one of the true freshmen. Al Grove probably used 4 tailbacks today. Darnell Dockett, the best defensive player up front for Florida State, in the words of coordinator Mickey Andrews, the primary player who forced that play for a loss. Not a lot of penetration against the pass last year, just 14 sacks. That's an astoundingly low number when you think about the great pass rush capability of Florida State over the years.
We talked to Mickey Andrews, the defensive coordinator. He said a large function of that number was the fact that the defensive backs had to be protected with zone defense.
Middle screen, Wally Lundy picked up a couple, but he's well short of the first down. Gain 3, but they needed 13. Michael Boulware made the tackle, and the Cavaliers will punt again.
With an extra year of experience under their belts, this Florida State defense really has the ingredients to become the attacking, blitzing style of defense that became a favorite down here in Tallahassee over the last 10 years, and got off to a pretty good start last week against Iowa State before Seneca Wallace heated up in the second half.
Low snap and a low wobbly punt by Hagan, who had the last one blocked. Dominic Robinson tackled by Case Luzar at the 37-yard line. A 36-yard punt and a 10-yard return. That's the end of the first quarter. Florida State leads Virginia 9-0. ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations. First play of the second quarter in Tallahassee. Sean McDonough with David Norrie, and it's a big run up the middle for Willie Reed. Close to a first down on 1st and 10. He came up about a yard shy of the first down marker. Justin Walker made the tackle for Virginia.
Defensively, Virginia wants to play with 2 safeties deep. Try to keep a ceiling on this potent passing game for Florida State. But if the running game continues for the Seminoles, they're going to have to abandon that. They're going to have to get a safety up near the line of scrimmage and try to stop this running game with numbers.
And Reed was stopped, but he broke free and picked up the first down. Tonight, Notre Dame head coach Tyrone Willingham leads the Fighting Irish for the first time. They battle the defending ACC champion Maryland Terrapins in the kickoff classic. Our holiday weekend bash presented by AT&T Wireless continues tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. ABC Sports, the class of college football. What a great start to the day today here on ABC Sports. Thrilling last-second win for Michigan at Washington. And Rick sings one complete to Robert Morgan. Lost the football. And now it's ruled an incomplete pass. Jerton Evans knocked it out, and Jermaine Hardy was off to the races. But it's ruled incomplete, and Morgan might have had the wind knocked out of him. Looks that he did based on that shot.
Now, you don't see hits like this from the safety position much anymore in the college ranks. Now, this is a great close by Jerton Evans, and watch him lay the helmet on the front side.
That's a catch and a fumble, isn't it?
That has to be a fumble. And beautiful ball from Ricks. Hits Morgan in stride, and I thought Morgan really established possession of that football. That should be Virginia ball going the other way.
They helped Morgan up. He missed all of last year with a knee injury, tore 2 ligaments in his knee and sustained nerve damage. You can see the brace on his left knee. His was the more serious of the 2 knee injuries to the wide receivers. Bolden's not quite as serious, although he tore an ACL, and that's not exactly Fun City. So it looked like the Seminoles caught a break there. Looked like a fumble recovered by Virginia. Instead, 2nd and 10, Florida State from its own 49. Just underway in the second quarter. And a handoff again to Willie Reed, the redshirt freshman from Kathleen, Georgia. Back across midfield, tackled by Raymond Mann. Let's check in again with John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Well, Sean, another tough opener for Coach Gary Barnett against Colorado State. Craig Oaks, this is 4th and 5 at the 12. His pass is broken up. Colorado State hangs on for the win. 19-14 the final. See, Colorado turned it over 4 times.
And they're now 0-4 in season openers under Gary Barnett. 3rd and 6. The Seminoles 3 out of 4 on 3rd down. Ricks pressure from behind and sacked. The freshman Daryl Blackstock, true freshman from Newport News, Virginia. He says he's after Chris Slade's all-time ACC sack record of 40. He says, I know the number and I'm going after it.
He wore number 11 in high school and couldn't take that number. Billy McMullen, the All-American wide receiver, holds down that number on this squad. But Blackstock, Al Gross said, you can wear number 56. And he was thinking about Lawrence Taylor, LT, and he sure came off the edge with some speed there. This kid is going to be a great one. And Al Gross is saying he's just shopping right now for a kid on the other side to match it.
Michael Johnson tackled from behind as he brought back the punt from Gwaltney. Jared Hetzel's had a big day on special teams, made the tackle. A 39-yard punt and a 17-yard return. On 1st and 10 for Virginia, it's Wally Lundy. Run out of bounds at the 33-yard line. And there's a flag down on the play. And it was thrown near where Lundy was run out of bounds. Malcolm Tatum ran him out. Holding the call against Virginia. 4th possession so far for UVA. They've punted on the first 3. Let's take a look back to 1995. Virginia hosting Florida State. Mike Grove, the Virginia quarterback, a 72-yard touchdown pass to Peter Allen to put Virginia ahead 33-28. The final play for Florida State. Warrickton fumbles at the 1-yard line. And Virginia prevailed 33-28. Here's Lundy on 1st and long. Out to the 30-yard line. Let's go back and look at the final play. Warrickton, who's here at the game today, maintains he got in. That was the first ever loss in the ACC for Florida State after 29 straight wins. The quarterback was that man, Mike Grove. Now on the sidelines on his dad Al Grove's coaching staff at age 30, coaching the wide receivers. He does a terrific job. His wide receiver Billy McMullen was overthrown by the quarterback Marcus Hagans. And it'll be 3rd down and 10.
And Mike Rowe was a heck of a quarterback, not only in '95, but as a junior in '94 as well. And what a game he had that night. I hate to tell Warrickton this, Sean, but
he didn't get in. No, he did not. Very young coaching staff. 5 of the 9 assistant coaches are 35 years old or younger, and that's likely a big reason why they've had so much success in recruiting. They're young, hungry, energetic. They do all the extra work necessary to be great recruiters, and they have brought in a top 5 recruiting class. The good days are coming. This is not a good moment for Hagans. Coughed up the football. Kevin Emanuel hit him. The Seminoles saying they've recovered. The officials have not yet given a signal. Florida State ball. Kevin Emanuel forced it, and Darnell Dockett recovered it.
Last week, Marcus Hagans didn't make a mistake until the final play of the game. But this is not Colorado State he's lining up against here. This is Florida State. And Emanuel comes off the edge with speed. Hits Hagans from behind. And Al Groh wanted to keep contact here in the first half.
Question I would have is, was his arm going forward? And the answer is no. He was hit just as it was starting to go forward.
Algro wanted to keep things close in this football game early, and his team's done a good job of that. Hagans has to keep the ball clean in the pocket.
And you wonder if they'll go back to the veteran Schaub. Ricks off play action into double coverage and intercepted. Picked off by Chris Williams. A terrible decision by Ricks. He threw directly into double coverage, and Williams was just standing there waiting for the ball to arrive. The bad break for Virginia was that Williams couldn't stay on his feet because he stumbled down at the 1. Had he stayed on his feet, he did have running room to bring the ball back a few yards.
Well, Ricks did not keep track of all the defenders in the secondary. He tries to beat Art Thomas, number 25, with this throw, but he does not recognize the depth of Chris Williams, number 39. Chris Ricks still having problems sorting things out in the secondary with his reads. Not a good throwing decision. If you have a fade route up the sideline and the safety has depth, come to a second receiver.
Hagans in the offense run right on to the ball after getting the play from the sideline, and they need to hurry. Play clock down to 4. They're not going to get it off. Did Hagans get the timeout? The referee says yes. Jim Knight indicating it is a timeout, even though there was a flag thrown by the back judge. They did get the timeout before the penalty. Might have been better taking the penalty. It only would have been half a yard. Florida State leads 9-0 early in the second quarter. Now it's time for the Aflac trivia question. Since 1997, how many times has a team from the state of Florida won the national championship in college football? The answer in a moment. David Norrie knows the answer, so don't cheat. Hagans scrambling in the end zone, just did get out, lost the football, and it looked like Alvin Pierman got it back for the Cavaliers, who actually benefited from the fumble. Hagans was down at the 1, the ball rolled out to the 3. They want Hagans in there for his speed, David, but he is not performing at a high level in terms of security of the football right now.
Well, he brings some speed to this Virginia offense. But he's also seeing some speed that he did not see last week against Colorado State. These Florida State Seminoles close a lot quicker, and Marcus Hagans needs to get his game buttoned down. His first priority is to take care of the football, and he's not doing a good job early in this football game.
The true freshman Lundy carries it out of the end zone, back to the line of scrimmage, and that's it. Jarrell Hudson, the middle linebacker, playing on a bulky ankle, made the tackle. Well, do you think they've had enough time to figure out the answer to the trivia question?
I think that's enough time.
What's the answer? Do you know? Go ahead, show off.
Well, I said 6 yesterday, and I was wrong. It was one short. I was one short.
You say 7? You're right. 7. Miami 4, FSU 2, Florida 1. Hagans throwing it up for grabs for McMullen. He gets decked by the double coverage, and it falls incomplete. They've had a tough time getting the ball to McMullen. And that was the case last week against Colorado State, and it was the case last year in the game between Virginia and Florida State.
Until Virginia comes up with a wide receiver on the other side to complement McMullen, he's going to see a lot of double coverage and a lot of secondaries leaning on him on deep routes.
Hagan gets the punt off out of the end zone, but it's very short. Caught on the run by Nick Maddox. He broke a couple of tackles and returns it to the 19-yard line, where he's tackled by Angelo Crowell. Just a 24-yard punt by the true freshman Hagan, who's under siege here in the first half. ABC Sports presentation of college football is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Aflac, ask about it at work. And by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. Greg Jones, the lone back. Running right, bouncing outside, inside the 10. Touchdown, Florida State. 19 yards on the touchdown run. Xavier Bethea. With the punter, Chance Gwaltney holding. And the extra point good, and Florida State leads 16-0. They have 130 yards on the ground already. 130 of their 146 yards of offense have come from the running game.
250 pounds, 4.4 speed, and watch Greg Jones bounce the ball outside. I mean, you don't see that from big power backs. Florida State's offense, their defense, their entire program built around speed. And watch 6 set it up inside and then win the race to the corner. Florida State getting it done in the first half here with a power running game, lining up their 5 experienced offensive linemen, and Virginia not doing a lot to solve the problem.
It was Raymond Mann, one of the veterans for Virginia, who really didn't play that very well, the outside linebacker, number 47. Last week in losing to Colorado State, Virginia had 5 turnovers. And I said, well, that's the product of youth, but 4 of them were made by upperclassmen. The newcomers only turned the ball over once, and that was Hagens on the fumble on their last offensive play when the Cavaliers drove down inside the 10-yard line. Hagens scrambled, was about to be tackled near the 3. He says he intentionally fumbled it toward the end zone, knowing they weren't going to get another playoff. All the other key mistakes in terms of turnovers last week were made by veterans. Bethea's kickoff into the end zone to Willie Davis. And a flag thrown. Davis down at the 24-yard line. Robin Charles made the tackle.
Stop is made by number 4.
An illegal block on the return. So after a decent start on the first possession of the game, it's been steadily downhill for Virginia. Tomorrow, ABC Sports reveals new details about the horrific events of September 1972. Our greatest hopes, our worst fears, the tragedy of the Munich Games. That's tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific on ABC. Still Marcus Hagens at quarterback. Wally Lundy in at tailback. Hagens rolled into the end zone. Now uses that speed and runs out of bounds. They mark him out at the 11. A gain of 3. Kendall Pope and Alan Augustin chased him out.
Marcus Hagens comes from Hampton High School in Virginia, and the head coach at Hampton calls Marcus the best athlete he's ever coached, and that's really saying something after Hagens took over for Ronald Curry, National Player of the Year in basketball and football back in the mid-90s.
He was a 2-sport All-American and continued to play both sports at North Carolina. The pass incomplete, intended for Luzar, and that was almost very close to another turnover by Virginia. At the conclusion of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. On the sidelines, Matt Shaw split time as the starter last year with Bryson Spinner, who transferred to Richmond. Started the opener last week. Hagens came off the bench. Hagens starting today. His pass tipped around and falls incomplete. Again looking for McMullen. And again Stanford Samuels had excellent coverage. UVA now 0 for 6 on 3rd down. And once again they'll have to punt from deep in their own territory, and that's been problematic so far today.
Now look at Mickey Andrews, the defensive coordinator for Florida State. Last week he got a big game from Alonzo Jackson at defensive end. On that last play, Kevin Emanuel again making his presence felt from the opposite defensive end spot.
Hagen, the punter. And again, not a very good kick. Off the side of his foot and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. A 29-yard punt by the freshman from Roanoke. Sean McDonough, David Norrie back in Tallahassee. Just over 10 minutes to play in the first half. And Florida State with a 16-0 lead, and with the ball back after another short punt at the Virginia 40. The last 3 Florida State possessions have started in Virginia territory, the 31, the 19, and now the 40. Greg Jones down at the 36-yard line. Merrill Robertson in a stop. Kwaku Robinson, a true freshman, also at the bottom of the pile. Last week against Colorado State, the Virginia Cavaliers played 10 true freshmen and 5 redshirt freshmen, and 3 other players who had never played in a game before. Talent level down, but it's being built back up very quickly. Ricks looking toward the end zone. Talman Gardner pushed off. And the pass incomplete. Art Thomas had the coverage. Gardner got away with a shove right in the back of Art Thomas.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that the flag stayed in the pocket on that play. That was not very tough to pick up with the naked eye. Talman Gardner is the fastest player on this Florida State roster. Runs a sub 4.340. Had the left foot in, but it looked like the right foot was out. And just before the ball arrived, used a push off to separate from Thomas.
Third down and 5 from the 35-yard line. Play clock running down. He didn't get it off. And the flag is thrown. They had a problem with this last week at Iowa State. Plays late coming in. Ricks taking too much time at the line. And this will set up third down and 10.
That responsibility falls squarely on the shoulders of number 16, Chris Ricks. And Jeff Bowden, the offensive coordinator, knows it. As a quarterback, when you break the huddle and you come up to the line of scrimmage, the first thing you pick up is the play clock in your line of sight. And Chris Ricks obviously lost track of it.
Ricks throws a slant right on the money. The defender at his back turned. Anquan Bolden, first down Florida State at the 16-yard line.
Well, there's no doubt that Chris Ricks has the complete toolbox at quarterback for Florida State. And when he drops back and gets his feet set, he's about as talented a thrower as you'll find on the East Coast. 3-step drop, timing throw to Bolden. And he fit that ball right in behind Merrill Robertson. You're right, Sean. Merrill Robertson walling the receiver, had his back to the quarterback.
24-yard gain, back to the ground with Jones, and a sturdy tackle by Jaton Evans. But Jones still managed to run over him to the 9-yard line.
Even with the 16-0 lead, Florida State starting to get the rhythm on offense. And Bobby Bowden, this is a real trademark of his offenses, the mix of run and pass. He's been a master over the years with his offenses, making run look like pass and pass look like run. A lot of different running and passing plays that complement each other. And you can feel this Florida State offense revving up.
Jones inside the 5 and down near the goal line. Stopped at the 1. It'll be first and goal. Angelo Crowell made the tackle.
Big talented offensive line gives you so many options, and that's really where the 2002 season starts for Florida State. All those returning seniors along the offensive line. They lost Milford Brown to the eligibility situation. Willis has been hurt, but they got kids to fill in, and they are really picking up chunks of yardage on the ground.
Ricks wants it himself. Touchdown. First rushing touchdown of the season for Chris Ricks. And it's not going as Al Groh had hoped here in the first quarter and a half. It's 22-0 Florida State. Bethea. Xavier Bethea adding the extra point to make it 23 zip. Well, they had a 24-0 lead. And 31-7 last week against Iowa State, and it almost slipped away. Bobby Bowden says maybe our team lacks a killer instinct. We'll see if they have a little bit more of that killer instinct today, with certainly one foot on the neck of these Cavaliers right now. Monday, a primetime showdown. Auburn travels west to take on USC as our holiday weekend bash presented by AT&T Wireless concludes. That's Monday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, ABC Sports, the class of college football.
Well, I think there's no doubt, Sean, Florida State has come out and shown some killer instinct. They've gotten off to a quick start today, much like they did last Saturday night against Iowa State. On the other side of the coin, Al Groh, talking to us yesterday, said that the way you beat Florida State is you create a type of game where the Seminole fans come out of the gates and say that was a boring football game. And not a lot of fireworks here in the first half. A couple turnovers for Al Groh's squad, but Florida State really getting things done on the ground. A couple passes to complement the offense, and Florida State up in this one 23-zip early without many fireworks.
Al Groh is on the New York Giants staff when they won the Super Bowl against Buffalo, and it was an upset. And they did it by controlling the clock. But they haven't been able to do that here today. Can't pick up first downs when they have the ball on offense. Willie Davis brought back the kickoff to the 21. Again, Jared Hetzel made the tackle. He's had a sensational first half here on special teams.
That really is the key, Sean. If you can't pick up first downs, you're not going to have success against Florida State, especially when you're playing in Tallahassee. All you have to do is look at the last two games as Schaub enters the game here at quarterback. So all you have to do is look at the last 2 years. Virginia's averaged 5 points in the last 2 games against Florida State.
All kinds of movement on the Florida State defense. Almost nobody in a down stance as that ball was snapped, and Wally Lundy went ahead to the 25-yard line. So it's Schaub, who split time starting last year with Bryson Spinner. They each started 6 games. Schaub started the opener last week. The problem last year for Matt, the interceptions, 8 of them, and a number of them were in key spots. He threw a costly interception last week as well against Colorado State. On second down, Lundy looking for a lead block from Brandon Isaiah. And he went out of bounds short of the first down near the 27-yard line.
Not a lot of running room for the true freshman, but a great job of staying on the tail cloth of a couple pulling linemen. And I'll tell you what, Sean, number 33, this is as talented a true freshman back as I've seen in a long time in the ACC.
Lundy, a true freshman from Willingboro, New Jersey. 94 yards rushing last week, 20 yards receiving, 90 in kick returns, and a vicious hit delivered to him by Eric Moore. And on third down and short, the Cavaliers can't convert. In fact, it's a big loss back to the 22.
Well, when we broke down the game film from a week ago against Iowa State, you look at this defensive front for Florida State, and they rotated at least 10 players in and out of the lineup. I mean, Mickey Andrews keeps these kids fresh, and Moore, you talk about speed from a defensive tackle spot.
Hagan, a better punt this time, fielded by P.K. Sam. Dancing across midfield, still on his feet, reversing his field. And finally, the Cavaliers get him on the ground at the 47-yard line. A 39-yard punt, the 15-yard return. Patrick Estes, a reserve tight end, made the tackle. Time now for our Pacific Life game summary. Torrance Washington, the first touchdown after a safety had made it 2-0. That touchdown made it 9-0 with the extra point. Greg Jones, a 19-yard run after a very short Virginia punt. And then Chris Ricks on the keeper after Jones got them down to the goal line. 151 yards rushing for Florida State. And they keep it on the ground, and why not? Here's Maddox, nearly stripped of the football. Raymond Mann went for the ball and didn't get it. And a late flag thrown. Gain close to a first down. Well, we'll check out the flag. Holding against the Noles. That'll be the 6th penalty already against Florida State.
A couple early mistakes. The same story last Saturday night, Sean, but you watch Oklahoma last night. Take a look at Colorado.
Offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul.
Some teams are expected to do well to vie for a national championship. Now, Bobby Bowden's team in the first half last week and so far in this game have shown me a real ability and a talent level that can take them deep into November and possibly back into another national championship game. They played in 3 out of the last 4.
He says the talent level here is good enough perhaps to do that, but they need more players on both sides of the ball to make big plays. They've had so many big playmakers on offense and defense here over the years. Nobody really jumping out yet among this team. A flag thrown, perhaps another holding call against Nick Maddox. He was trying to contend with Daryl Blackstock, and 2 officials threw a flag on that hold. It must have been pretty obvious. So the Seminoles are in reverse. Really isn't much to explain here. The play went for a gain. Penalty would be a big loss. Of course, they're going to take the penalty.
Previous spot. 10 yards from the previous spot, holding by the offense. Repeat the down.
Coming up on the Valvoline halftime show, John Saunders and Terry Bowden bring you all the scores and highlights from college football today. Plus a look at the excitement that has been generated in South Bend with the arrival of new Notre Dame head coach Ty Willingham. That's coming up at the half. 5.5 minutes away.
This is a situation where Virginia really has to be aware of Ricks taking a shot down the field and letting one of his athletic wide receivers go up, fight a defensive back for the football.
A lot of times they will just throw it up and have their receivers make a play. Making the play, Profonso Thorpe. His first catch of the season, the sophomore from Tallahassee, who had 15 receptions last year as a true freshman. He's been hampered by an injured toe and got into only 2 plays of the Iowa State game.
This is a comeback out at about 18 yards. And you talk about a ball being thrown on time and with some zip to the outside. And Ricks has all the throws. He can make all the throws down the field in the intermediate, deep zones. And that ball got there in time.
2nd and 7. And Jones reversing his field. Blackstock made him do it. And then Justin Walker and Angelo Crowell to the rescue. Walker, a backup nose tackle, a junior in his 4th year in the program, had not played in a game until last week. And he played pretty well, and he's been in on a couple of stops today from Staten Island, New York.
It's frightening when you compare the game experience of this big offensive line for Florida State with the inexperience up front for Virginia. And 23-0 score here deep into the 2nd quarter explains it.
That was Al Groh's biggest concern. We chatted with him yesterday. His defensive front, how would it stand up against this running game and the big offensive line? The umpire got knocked to the ground. Clark Gaston. He bounces back quickly. He went down to the ground with Greg Jones, who was tackled by Angelo Crowell. A gain of 13, another first down for the Seminoles.
Bobby Bowden talked to us yesterday about a lack of big play ability. Look at the career starts along that Seminole offensive line. And when you have a line that's as big and experienced and talented as that offensive line, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to make big plays with your skill athletes.
I noted earlier the 3 starts on the defensive front, 3 for Virginia, were all last week. Here's Ricks after the play action. Dodges the rush of Crowell. Throws it up for grabs. It's deflected and incomplete. Shenard Newby batted away from Talman Gardner.
Now, this is one of the unique talents of a Chris Ricks. A defender comes free in the pocket, and he's so gifted at making the first defender miss. That's an All-American candidate, number 55, Angelo Crowell, coming free. And Ricks so good at making the defender miss and then getting reset in the pocket.
Nick Maddox, the lone back now. He takes the handoff from Ricks on 2nd and 10. Has a nice hole. First down inside the 10. And knocked out of bounds inside the 5. Chased out by Newby. That's a run of 27 yards for Nick Maddox, the senior from Kannapolis, North Carolina.
And we saw Greg Jones bounce the ball outside for a touchdown earlier in this quarter. How about the change of pace with number 20? And it doesn't even look like he has an angle to continue the run down the sideline. Turns the corner and comes real close to scoring with the football. He is a very talented back down near the goal line with his speed and his cutting ability.
E.J. Dean back in at fullback now. Maddox remains the tailback. 2 tight ends into the game. Ricks fumbled the football. And the battle for possession still going on at the bottom of that pile. They're well convinced all along Virginia has it, but no signal yet.
Looks like it's going to take some time to sort this pile apart.
And the Seminoles got it back. Alex Barron, the tackle, sophomore, starting his first game today with the recovery.
Exchange problem between quarterback and center, and oftentimes when a quarterback reverses out to hand the ball, he loses separation with the center.
There's an injured Virginia player on the field. We'll return to Tallahassee in a moment. On 2nd and goal for Florida State. Torrance Washington, he lost the football. Second fumble in as many plays, and this time Virginia has recovered. So the freshman Washington, who scored down on the goal line earlier, coughs it up this time, and Virginia gets the ball back at the 1-yard line.
Well, Sean, we talked about the turnovers that hurt Virginia a week ago. Florida State, a couple key turnovers in the second half against Iowa State. And this is a fumble by Washington right on the heels of the Ricks fumble coming away from center. Florida State has had a couple opportunities to run away and hide in this football game, but they've kept Virginia in it here late in the second quarter, and they're giving Virginia at least another chance to make this football game a real ball game.
After both turnovers by Florida State, Virginia's taken over at the 1-yard line, and Billy McMullen juggled it but made the catch. He's still on his feet at the 40-yard line of Florida State. You wonder if he might have gone all the way if he caught it in stride. The juggle slowed him down a little bit. He beat Rufus Brown in coverage. First catch of the day for McMullen.
And a great job by McMullen getting off the line of scrimmage against press coverage. That ball is thrown perfectly by Schaub. Timing route. And look at the hand fighting going on downfield. McMullen trying to get rid of the cornerback, and then Claudius Osei coming up to finish him off. A beautiful play between quarterback and wide receiver.
Schaub's first completion went for 59. That pass intended for Ryan Sawyer. Again, Rufus Brown had coverage. And it'll be 2nd down and 10. Brown's a junior from El Paso, Texas. Pardon me, David.
Sometimes the best way to attack this Florida State defense, especially if you're having trouble protecting your passer, is to go with some 3-step and 5-step timing routes. Get the ball out early. Give your wide receivers a chance to make a play.
Wally Lundy forced back. Great penetration by that Florida State front, and Kendall Pope, the linebacker, who made the principal tackle on the last play of the game to preserve the win against Iowa State last week. Credited with the tackle there, a loss of 6.
Yeah, and the real problem for Virginia, as we look at Kendall Pope and his numbers, is if you cannot get a running game developed against this defense, especially trailing 23-0, you're not going to have a good chance to protect your passer. And until Virginia can pick up some yards on the ground, Mickey Andrews is going to have a field day with his defense.
Schaub dropped the snap, free ball at midfield. Fans oohing and eyeing. They thought one of the Virginia Cavaliers guilty of a personal foul in the pushing and shoving. on the edge of that pile. There have been some real battles in these piles. There have been 3 of them in the last few seconds. Florida State ball. Second turnover by Virginia.
Schaub coming away from center, and as a quarterback, at the snap of the football, you got to stay in, you got to work with your big center. And Schaub pulled away a little bit early.
Well, turnover's a big problem last year. 5-7 their season. Many of the losses marred by major turnover difficulties, and that really was the problem last week. Without the 5 turnovers, Al Gross said maybe we win the game 30-12 or some score like that. Instead, they lost by 6.
Yeah, and Al Groh knows that if his team marches down the field and scores a touchdown, all of a sudden it's 23-7, and it opens up a lot of play calling options that you don't have when you're down by more than 3 touchdowns.
Ricks dumps it off short to Willie Reed. He's inside the 40, down at the 36. They'll keep an eye on the clock. 1:54.
No.
And all 3 timeouts remaining.
Now, Reed is an interesting story in Florida State as the Seminoles getting the clock offense. Georgia State Player of the Year back in 2000, and like Maddox, brings a lot of speed to the party.
Ricks flushed from the pocket, has the speed to get on the corner. He was across the line of scrimmage when he threw a touchdown pass, but that won't count. Talman Gardner caught it, but Ricks was a couple of yards across the line of scrimmage when he threw it.
And you can look at the face of Chris Ricks and see the disappointment, but as a quarterback, you got to be able to keep track of where you are on the field. And
well, he was a good 2 yards across the line of scrimmage from our vantage point when he threw it.
I was surprised that he threw the football.
The passer was beyond the line of scrimmage when he released. 5 yards on the spot, loss of down.
Now, Ricks impresses you with his playmaking ability, and his feet give him a lot of chances to get outside. And let's take a look right here at line of scrimmage. He's clearly a yard to 2 past the line of scrimmage when he lets that football go.
Line of scrimmage was the 37. He was almost at the 35.
And you can see the side judge there. The side judge marks the line of scrimmage with his foot, and he was 2 yards beyond the side judge.
4 receivers spread out, including Maddox. High throw, almost intercepted by Jaton Evans. PK Sam was the intended receiver, but that was nowhere near him.
Ricks has shown more success getting out of the pocket and making plays down the field when he breaks the pocket. He has not been an effective passer throwing the rhythm throws, the timing throws from the pocket, and that's really what the coaching staff for Florida State wants to see him improve upon.
3rd down and 13. Out of field goal range at the moment. All day to throw. Nobody rushing for Virginia. Reed knocked out of bounds short of the 1st down. At the 32-yard line, just inside the 32, so it'll be about a 49-yard field goal try. Longest of his career is 50 for Bethea.
That's a classic spot for Bobby Bowden to go ahead and go for it. Field goal doesn't make a lot of sense here. A field goal attempt. It's within Bethea's range, but this Florida State offense well capable of picking up a 4th and 4.
So they'll try to do it from the 32-yard line. Out of the gun, Ricks wanted to throw quickly and connects with Alfonso Thorpe. 1st down. Jermaine Hardy made the tackle. But the play goes inside the 25-yard line, spotted at the 23. 1st and 10 Seminoles with 1:15 left in the half.
And Thorpe, another kid from Florida State, who runs about a 4.35 40. And on the outside, you got to play him with respect. That's just pitch and catch between quarterback and wide receiver.
Under a minute left in the half now. Ricks is going to run. He's across the line and chopped down. A nice open field tackle by Almondo Curry, a junior from Hampton, Virginia, nicknamed Muffin. They don't know why. They know, but they won't tell us. He nicknamed Marcus Hagen's Biscuit. They won't tell us why he's Biscuit either. Nobody in the program seems to know, except the folks involved.
A couple interesting nicknames for this Florida State. Also, as well as the Virginia lineup. Florida State, nice job of using their timeouts and continuing this clock drive.
Al Grove looking for his defense to make a stop here. The 58-year-old native of Long Island, New York, back at his alma mater. Left the head coaching job in the NFL with the New York Jets and didn't do so lightly. Said when his alma mater first approached, he wasn't sure. He probably wasn't going to take the job. There were only 31 NFL head coaching jobs at the time. When the president of UVA said he wanted a coach who could win the national championship, that got Al Grove's interest. On the slant, PK Sam inside the 10 and down at the 6. First and goal, Florida State. Clock stopped to move the chains after a gain of 16.
Yeah, this is a nice job by Ricks. Two-step drop out of the gun, timing route on the quick slant. PK Sam, just like his 4 running mates at wide receiver, great size, and Ricks takes advantage of that target.
Now the shotgun, Ricks thought about running. He's still thinking about running, and he gets tackled at the 3-yard line by Jermaine Hardy. They'll probably need to use one of their 2 remaining timeouts here, and they do with 14 seconds left.
Well, Chris Ricks and this Florida State offense doing a good job of using the clock. 14 seconds left. 2 more opportunities at least to get into the end zone, and you see a little bit of his strength there at the end of this run. Taking on Jerton Evans, and he's not only a talented passer and harbors the ability to scramble at the football, but he's able to take defenders on down the football field. Total yards matchup, not a well-contested one.
Almost 200 yards on the ground here in the first half. Ricks has thrown for 113 and rushed for 58. Good news for comedy fans. The Drew Carey Show and Whose Line Is It Anyway premiere early on Monday, September 9th, along with the regular season premiere of Monday Night Football. That's Drew and Whose Line, now on Monday, starting September 9th, right here on ABC. Still a timeout left for the Seminoles. And they'll be looking at second down and goal from the 3-yard line.
We're talking clock management here. If Florida State can attempt to pass on this play, they save the timeout, and you really give yourself 3 shots to get into the end zone or use that 4th down for a field goal try. I look for Florida State to keep the ball in the air on the second down play.
Get it off with 2 on the play clock. It's deflected up in the air and intercepted. Picked off by Jermaine Hardy after Darrell Blackstock got a hand on the slant and deflected it straight up in the air. So this Virginia defense put in a tough field position situation all day long has come up with 3 turnovers.
And all 3 turnovers have taken place inside Virginia's 5-yard line. 2 in the end zone and a fumble inside the 5. And that's a great play by Blackstock to get a hand up. And an even better play on the interception in the end zone. Once again, Rick's going with the timing route. He's going to try to get the ball out quick. Blackstock, a hand up. And then what a play by Hardy to reverse field, get back and make the play in the end zone.
And Virginia content to go to the locker room and regroup, down by 23 at the half. Stay tuned for the Valvoline halftime show after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
You're watching ABC's College Football Holiday Weekend Bash, presented by AT&T Wireless.
Our Holiday Weekend Bash continues, presented by AT&T Wireless. ABC College Football today. Florida State and Virginia, 23-0 Seminoles at the half. If you're a Virginia fan, it isn't good, but it could be worse.
It could be a lot worse. In fact, Florida State had 2 or 3 shots in the first half to blow this game wide open. But Virginia's going to have to get something done with the running game or the passing game. 2 for 9 passing the football in the first half, only 33 yards on the ground. If you don't pick up first downs, you're not going to be able to do much against Florida State. And so far, Florida State has just dominated this football game.
Virginia had 8 possessions in the first half, 6 of them ended with punts, the other 2 with fumbles.
Yeah,
so they're hoping for a better ending.
It's been a sloppy game, and if Virginia could just take care of the football and get a couple shots down the field to Billy McMullen and make a few plays, get the chains moving.
We'll take a look at the first half statistics. Dominated by FSU, 309 total yards to 96. And the average starting field position a big factor as well. Florida State started at their own 40 or better 6 times, 4 times in plus territory. They've had great field position all day. It has started to rain. It's rained off and on here for the last several days. Kurt Smith will kick off for Virginia. Alman Gardner and Leon Washington back deep. Freshman Smith sent about 4 yards into the end zone, and Gardner took an E. First and 10, Florida State. Chris Ricks ran for 58 and a touchdown pass for 113. He also had 2 passes intercepted.
2 interceptions, also let the 25-second clock expire, threw a pass over the line of scrimmage, fumbled it coming away from center. You know, if he can just erase some of those mistakes, he's got the talent, and he has been solid throwing the football with the exception of those problems.
And they pick up right where they left off in the first half. Greg Jones rumbling right through the middle of the defense. Kwaku Robinson took him down, but it's a gain to the 32. A 12-yard pickup. Raymond Mann is a little bit wobbly after the play.
Chris Ricks, little package here from the first half, using his feet, looking to Maddox over the middle, punching the ball across the goal line for a touchdown. And as we said during the first half, not a big problem as far as talent's concerned and physical talent with Ricks. It's the mental part of the game that Florida State coaches are trying to get shored up.
Raymond Mann, the injured player, junior from Hampton, Virginia. Out of Hampton High School, a program that has sent a lot of players to UVA over the years. And on this current UVA team, Mann, Elmondo Curry, Marcus Hagans, Elton Brown, Brian Smith, the freshman field goal kicker, all from that school. Brian Smith's dad, Mike, is the coach there. And he's had a great program for many years.
The Hampton Crabbers.
First and 10, Florida State. Ricks has settled in this year as the quarterback. Last year when the team struggled, a lot of the focus was on him. There were reports that some of the teammates thought he was a little too confident, a little too cocky. He was a redshirt freshman trying to take over for the 27-year-old Chris Weinke. There was going to be a major change. Change in attitude as well. Jones again out to the 45-yard line, a gain of 13. Jermaine Winborn and Shenard Newby made the tackle, and it's another 100-yard game for Jones with 101, averaging nearly 8 per carry.
Hard to believe that a kid with that kind of size can use his vision and cut the ball back against the grain like he did on that last play. That is some real talent at the tailback position.
Here's Jones coming to the near side, turns the corner into Florida, rather into Virginia territory. And he got knocked out of bounds with another first down at the 42. No reason to try anything else if you're Florida State. Next Saturday, SEC and Big 12 powers collide when Alabama takes on number 3 Oklahoma. That's next Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. ABC Sports, the class of college football.
You know, Sean, Greg Jones kind of reminds me of Eddie George. He doesn't look like he's running very fast on the perimeter, kind of a loping style. But he's got speed. It's very deceptive.
He tries the middle, looked like he got grabbed by a face mask. Escaped and picked up another first down to the 26-yard line. Shenard Newby took him down.
Well, we talked about the speed with Jones, but he can also lower the hammer. And he's going to cause a UVA defender to lose his mouthpiece. And he also shows some elusiveness. He's got a great combination of skills at the tailback position, and I think he can take Florida State a long ways in this running game.
16-yard gain. Maddox takes over for Jones with similar success. He spins near a first down. They're getting about 10 yards a pop on this opening drive. The safety Shenard Newby called upon to make another tackle.
Yeah, the yards are coming pretty easy, and you got to give a lot of credit to the offensive line for Florida State. They're playing with a nice crisp rhythm. And to Chris Ricks' credit, he's getting them in and out of the huddle. When your offensive line is effective running the football, get them in and out of the huddle and give them some rhythm, and that's what Ricks is doing right now.
Jones had carries of 12, 13, 13, and 16, and Maddox went for 10. And Maddox goes again inside the 10. First and goal, Florida State at the 9-yard line. They've moved very quickly in just over 2 minutes, all the way down to the 9 from their own 20.
Maddox adds such a great aspect to complement Greg Jones' style, and he's got tremendous ability to move laterally. Kind of that Barry Sanders type capability to move laterally, then find the hole and accelerate through it.
Maddox again. Bang down. The Virginia defense finally said that's enough of that. Jerton Evans, who's had some memorable hits this afternoon, delivered another to Maddox.
We said in the first half that if the Virginia defensive front was not going to have success against this run game for Florida State, the safeties were going to have to get involved, and that's what's happened. Virginia's starting to bring Evans up into the picture to slow this running game down.
Two tight ends into the game now. Jones returns as the lone back. He cuts it back. Howard's down to the goal line. Touchdown. Up to 135 yards now and 2 touchdowns for Jones. That was an 80-yard drive, 8 plays, all of them rushing plays. Bethea on to add the extra point. Sophomore from Tampa. They've had shaky kickers over the years here, but he's been rock solid in his 2 years as their starting kicker. Rock solid the running game today, 30-0 Florida State.
Time now from our Burger King update from here in New York. Illinois against Missouri. Justin Ward going to work. Pump fakes once, 29 yards to Brandon Lloyd. Gets in for the touchdown. The Illini, inside the first 3 minutes of the second half, had tied the game. But Missouri has just scored to go back on top, 20-14 to score there.
And Florida State has just scored here to take a 30-0 lead. Bethea's kicked off into the end zone, dropped by Willie Davis. He's upset. He wanted to run it back, but wisely decided to stay in the end zone. So now Virginia just trying to find anything positive that it can on offense. They had 96 yards of offense in the first half, picked up 2 first downs on the first possession, and did very little thereafter. Had 4 first downs for the half. Shaw, the quarterback, throws it out to the far side, complete to Billy McMullen. That's just the second catch of the day for McMullen, who caught 83 last year, far and away the school record. He also had 12 touchdown receptions. He had just 4 of those 83 catches last year against Florida State. They handcuffed him last year. They've done it again so far today.
Virginia wants to have success here in the second half. They've got to start throwing the football in some obvious run situations. Give Schaub some time in the pocket. Let Schaub operate to his experienced wideout in McMullen.
Wally Lundy ran into Jeff Womble, seeing his first action of the season today. Al Groh throwing his freshman into the fire. Yesterday he talked about it.
The future is now in terms of winning. And I think you better try to win every game that you have a chance to play. That always means, from our mentality, playing the players who give us the very best chance to win. So we're playing these players because they bring some skill and a dimension to our team that otherwise wouldn't be on the team.
And he's not playing for the future, he's playing for the present. These younger players have more talent than some of the upperclassmen, so they're playing. Michael Boulware got in the way of the pass from Schaub to Lundy. And on 4th down and 3, the Cavaliers will have to punt again.
Al Groh looking out on the playing field and seeing a lot of returning talent on this Florida State defense. Boulware has such great speed at that outside linebacker spot that oftentimes you don't have to take a cornerback and bring him in the game in a nickel situation. They just leave Boulware out on the field.
A better punt by Hagan, but shaky coverage, and Leon Washington ran it back near midfield. A 46-yard punt, but a 25-yard return. Tonight, Notre Dame head coach Tyrone Willingham leads the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame for the first time. They'll battle the defending ACC champs, the Maryland Terrapins, in the Kickoff Classic. Our holiday weekend bash presented by AT&T Wireless continues tonight at 8. That's 5 Pacific on ABC Sports, the class of college football.
Be real interesting to watch that game and see how the Terps do without Sean Hill at quarterback and their starting tailback as well.
You look at scores of other games, and some heavily favored teams struggled, including those first 2 that you saw. Boston College and Alabama barely escaped with victories today. Anquan Bolden took the handoff and ran for 17. All the way down to the Virginia 32. This is a very tired-looking Virginia defense, understandably so.
Well, they've taken the brunt of the run game for Florida State, and they've been bruised for almost 2.5 quarters by this big, experienced offensive line. And then it's almost unfair. End around to Bolden, one of the most talented wide receivers running with the football in the country.
Big hole again for Jones. Spins inside the 20, down at the 13-yard line. Tremendous speed and balance for a man who's nearly 250 pounds. Finally, Merrill Robertson got him on the ground, but it's a gain of 19. They call him Thunder and Maddox Lightning, and they have been a dynamic combination. Let's hope that's the only thunder and lightning we see here today. There's the possibility of some thunderstorms here in the Tallahassee area. Jones dancing, trying to escape. And managed to get down to the 12. And a late flag on the play. We'll tell you about the flag after we visit with John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Missouri against Illinois. We told you that Mizzou jumped on top again. Here's how it happened. Dustin Ward, is this a pass? Apparently everyone thinks it is. Look, everybody stops, but there's no whistle. So James Kinney picks it up and rumbles down the sidelines. 46-yard for the touchdown, and Missouri breaks the tie. They're on top 20-14. Missed the point after.
Yeah, we've seen some shaky kicking today here early in the season. Some of the kickers not quite as dependable as the coaches would like. It was an illegal block on the last play against the Seminoles. So the ball comes back out to the 22. If Bobby Bowden's looking for a negative, he won't find it on that graphics panel. He will find it in the penalty column. 9 penalties for 69 yards. Penalties and the turnovers preventing this from being a total rout. Not that it's exactly a tight game right now, but as we said at the half, it could be a lot worse. Greg Jones got the ball just inside the 20. He's had a huge day.
Yeah, the opening touchdown, bouncing it outside, flashing some speed. His cutting ability, working with some physical style inside and between the tackles, and Virginia going almost exclusively man-to-man on the outside. The big receivers for Florida State are there if Chris Ricks wants them.
Here's Jones punishing the Virginia defenders as he goes down inside the 10-yard line. Shenard Newby made the tackle with help from Darrell Blackstock. That's a 10-yard gain, and now a single game career best for Jones. 168 yards rushing on 20 carries today. The new career best for Jones.
4 consecutive 100-yard plus games for Jones going back to the 2001 season.
On the handoff, it's Gardner. And this time Virginia played it very well. Robertson dropped the play for a loss back to the 9. These UVA guys are smart. That's one of the premier institutions in the country. You're not going to fool them twice.
I think that's really an advantage that Algro has. He's got some of the best young talent in the country, and when you combine the brightness of the future of this program and some of the younger players in the football program with the quality of academic institution they have going on there in Charlottesville, it's a pretty attractive package.
26-yard field goal attempt by Bethea, and he missed it. He had made 12 straight dating back to their victory at Virginia a year ago, but that streak comes to an end with a wide left. ABC's College Football Holiday Weekend Bash presented by AT&T Wireless. Brought to you by AT&T. Welcome to M-Life. AT&T Wireless. And in part by Chevy. The cars you can depend on, the cars that last, will be there. By Discover Card. It pays to discover. And by Alamo, the official rental car of the American Vacation. On 1st and 10 for Virginia, Wally Lundy. Carrying out to the 23. A true freshman from Willingboro, New Jersey, has overcome a lot of adversity in his life. Both his parents passed away while Wally was a very young boy. He was 5 when his dad Brian died after a stroke at age 30. He was 8 when his mom Joanne died of cancer at age 33. He and his brothers, raised by their grandmother Etta Davis, family with very strong religious faith. There's a completion. Schaub to McMullen. He lunged for the 30, but they won't give him that yard marker. So they'll need a yard on 3rd down. And Al Groh is just raving about the kind of young man Wally Lundy is. Brother Jamal, part of that Connecticut team that almost pulled off the upset today at Boston College. He's a linebacker, and Michael expected to be a starting running back at Towson State. 3rd down and inches. Deep handoff to Lundy. He fumbles. He got it knocked out by B.J. Ward. The Cavaliers got it back, but they cost themselves 1st down yardage. Elton Brown recovered at the 27-yard line.
Wally Lundy is going to make the cut, and then the hit comes from the side. And it looked like B.J. Ward came up and lay a helmet on the ball, and Wally Lundy showing some nice talent.
Oh, no.
Football. Here's a fake.
Hagan dropped the snap, and he'd all day to run with it, or kick it rather. Instead, he decided to run with it. And when you play 10 freshmen, you have freshman kickers. These are the sorts of things that happen. The snap was low from Ryan Childress, the long snapper who they just put on scholarship this year. After today, they might take it away. But Hagan still had time. He was not under duress and just took off running. And they marked him down before that flip at the 23-yard line.
Looked like Hagan had some running room to the outside to maybe pick up the 1st down, but at the very least, as he said, Sean, get the punt off. He had plenty of time.
Hagen's an excellent all-around athlete. Outstanding baseball player. In high school, hit better than 500 last year as a senior. And he plans to play baseball at UVA. And Al Grove talks about the fact that a lot of these players on his team were riding a yellow bus to school 3 months ago. And now they're here playing in front of 79,000 people on national TV. And you have to expect the growing pains.
It's hard to believe. Some of these true freshmen jumping out of the cafeteria line and stepping up and playing big-time Division I football. We'll be right back.
Let's go, Timo!
This fall, villains beware.
Give it up, Creep!
Timo Supremo is coming to Toon Disney.
Do that thing.
The thing?
You know, where they come at you and you go towards them.
Like this?
Like that, but more with my side winning.
It's the battle of the Ultimate Toon heroes against the Ultimate Toon villains.
I'm so bad.
Timo Supremo!
Timo Supremo coming this fall to Toon Disney.
You children amuse me.
Back here in New York, Tennessee, a lot of people like them for the national championship. Hey, my partner does here. Against Wyoming, Casey Clausen goes 19 yards to Jomo Fagan for the touchdown. They lead Wyoming 7-0.
I like the Volunteers too. After seeing them in the Capital One Citrus Bowl just dominate Michigan last January.
Casey Clausen is going to be a tough quarterback to stop, and he's got a heck of a wide receiver outside in Kelly Washington. They lost some key players defensively, but I think Tennessee has a shot to be playing on the third.
Here's Maddox. Hold, that was about as clear as it could be on the right end of the line. That cleared the way for Maddox to turn the corner, but that one's going to come back on a tackle at the right end of the offensive line. There have been a few today, David, been so obvious we could fire the flag from here. That was one of them. We're a long way back. That's the 10th penalty against Florida State.
On the offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul will be for that.
The Pacific Life game summary. And if you're a Virginia fan, look away from the TV. 0 for 10 on third down. Only 4 first downs in the game. Florida State doing what it thought it could do. Run the football again this week. 168 for Jones. They've rushed for 326 as a team.
Without all the mistakes, Florida State could be up in this football game by a whole bunch more points.
Official on the side of the field running in. Perhaps a problem with the clock.
Last week, Sean, came down to the last play between Florida State and Iowa State. Bobby Bowden wasn't real happy after the game, and I'm not sure he's going to be real happy after this one, even though not going to be quite as tight as Saturday's contest.
25-second clock will be reset.
The scary part of it is his team leads by 30 points, and they're not playing anywhere near their potential. This Florida State team, if they get on track, they've got all the components.
And they have the play clock situation solved, and back to work go the Noles on first down and 19 at the Virginia 34. Ricks swings it out incomplete. Looking for B.J. Dean, the redshirt freshman fullback. Doesn't get to touch it very often. He hasn't touched the ball yet this season.
Not a great ball by Ricks there, but also Dean's got to give his quarterback a little bit better picture. Gear down out in the flat.
That's spoken like a true quarterback.
A lot of times on those passing plays, incomplete passes, a couple players share the blame.
Inside handoff. Greg Jones. Short of a first down at the 29-yard line. Still a long way to go in long yardage. Brennan Schmidt and Merrill Robertson made the tackle. Schmidt's a redshirt freshman, starting defensive end from Arlington, Virginia. His brother J.D. plays at Boston College. Their dad Robert played at Notre Dame and Southern California.
And Schmidt's a scrapper. He's a bit of a street fighter in there. And gives up a little bit of size, but Al Gross says he's a hold down the fort type of guy.
Swung out into the flat for Nick Maddox, and a good open field tackle by Jermaine Hardy. He's had a pretty good day for this Virginia defense. Sophomore from Roanoke, played in 9 games last year as a reserve, had an interception in the first game of his career at Wisconsin.
Take a look at the top of the screen. Swing pass, ball placed perfectly to Maddox, and Hardy coming up and making a nice open field tackle, as you said, Sean. There's been a couple bright spots in this football game, and one has been the safety play of Hardy.
Bethia trying a 42-yard field goal. He missed from 26. That one is right down the middle. (33-0) Florida State.
Bethia hitting it true. They made 13 of his 14 kicks a year ago, and if you count the bowl game, 16 of 17.
Sunday, ESPN2 has the battle for bragging rights in the Bluegrass State. Dave Ragone and the Louisville Cardinals host Jared Lorenzen and the Kentucky Wildcats. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Florida State will play at Louisville on September 26th. It's been a high-scoring offense in recent years for the Cardinals under coach John L. Smith. Bethia will kick off. Willie Davis and Marcus Weeks back deep.
Well, Sean, a lot of people are talking about that Florida State at Miami contest, and field goal kicker usually plays a part in that matchup. Bethia better numbers as a freshman than Scott Bentley or Sebastian Janikowski. This kid has been unbelievable after a somewhat slow start early on in the 2001 season. He's been perfect.
This kickoff returnable for Willie Davis from the goal line. And he coughed up the football, but fortunately for Willie, it was along the sideline. Cameron Wimbley knocked the ball out. He recovered a fumble on a kickoff return from Iowa State last week. So Virginia back on offense with 3:15 remaining in the third quarter, and it's still Schaub. And there isn't going to be a quarterback controversy at UVA. Al Groh addressed that with us yesterday and had some interesting thoughts we'll share with you after this play. Schaub crisply dumping it off to Michael Johnson. He's tackled at the 31, about 3 yards shy of the first down. Al Groh says you can play 2 left guards, 2 tackles. Nobody says anything. We play 4 tailbacks. Nobody says anything. But if you play 2 quarterbacks because you think each brings something to the table that might be a little different and suitable for situations in the game, all of a sudden there's a quarterback controversy. The media tries to make it that way, or the fans do, and he doesn't really understand why it's different at that position than it is at any of the others. Johnson driven back by Kevin Emanuel. There was a flag thrown early in the play, and then perhaps they were a little too rough at the end of the play. Another flag came out as Emanuel and Jarrell Hudson drove Johnson about 10 yards back.
At the very least, a second flag is going to be a 15-yarder against Florida State.
Defensive play by Church, Hudson, and Emanuel.
Holding on the offense. Dead ball, personal on the defense. We're going to mark off 10 yards, 15 yards, and a first.
Well, Bobby Bowden well on his way to career victory number 325, but he won't be happy about this, and clearly that's a penalty. I mean, they rode this guy back for over 10 yards with whistles blowing all over the stadium.
You can't find much fault with the 3 defensive linemen, Emanuel, but Kyler Hall coming in late and stuffing a helmet into the pile. Usually that's going to draw a 15-yarder.
Bobby Bowden with the win last week. Moved out of a tie with Bear Bryant, whom he has idolized his entire life. behind Joe Paterno on the all-time win list. First and 10 from the 35. Schaub throws it deep, and a nice catch on the far side of the field by Michael McGrew. His first catch of the day. He beat Malcolm Tatum, who had the coverage.
Schaub finally gets some protection to holds up. Nice post corner ball to McGrew. Looking at the all-time victories list.
And Joe Paterno's number reflects the narrow win today over Central Florida. Bobby Bowden jokingly said not long ago, Joe better pick it up a little bit. When their two teams played in the 1990 Blockbuster Bowl, Paterno, a good friend of Bowden, had a 21-win advantage, and Bowden has narrowed the gap.
Seminoles coming up with 3 more wins than Penn State is a distinct possibility.
McMullen on a nice throw and catch. Schaub to McMullen. Jerome Carter made the tackle. And behind the play, some pushing and shoving, but no flags thrown. So the best sustained movement by Virginia today, and it was aided by that personal foul penalty. That was a 24-yard completion to McMullen. And now the defense calling for noise from the crowd. 79,406 here today. And a timeout call by Florida State. Al Groh at this juncture just hoping for some positives that he can take out of this game to use with his young team, because they have a tough road ahead. Next week, back home in Charlottesville, they have South Carolina coming into their stadium. They had some input into who the first game of the year was last week against Colorado State. It was the Jim Thorpe Classic. The organizers of the event gave them a list of teams, said, give us your preference. They chose Colorado State because they wanted to play the best team to get ready for Florida State and South Carolina thereafter. A lot of other coaches would have said, give me Cupcake U here so I can get 1 win before I go play the Iron. But Al Groh wanted this young team tested immediately, and he felt if they could have gotten a win against Colorado State, even better. Now you've beaten a team that everybody knows is good. 8 straight seasons rather of 7 wins or more. Didn't quite pull off the win.
Well, that game that Al Groh's Cavaliers played against Colorado State a week ago looks a lot better right now after the performance by Colorado State against the Buffaloes of Colorado this afternoon. And you have to respect Al Groh for going ahead and scheduling that extra game and taking the toughest team on the list.
On the delay, the handoff to Michael Johnson. That ball squirts out after he was on the ground, but they're going to continue to have fumbling problems if these guys continue to carry the ball the way they do. Boulware made the tackle. Johnson had that ball out in his arm, flailing around all over the place as he was trying to turn the corner.
Coaches don't like to see air when young running backs or running backs of any age are running the football, and I don't think these true freshman backs, Sean, have seen defenders with this type of speed closing on them in the open field as well, and that's something that you got to get used to at this level.
Schaub trying to set up a screen. Wally Lundy pulled down by Kendall Pope. And the Seminoles want the shutout, and certainly this defense could use a lift. They did not have a good defensive year last year. Very shaky last week against Iowa State. Allowed 31 points and 443 yards of total offense.
And Schaub trying to buy a little time with his feet, dumping the ball off. And you look back a year ago, Sean, talking about how this hasn't been a classic Florida State defense. They were ranked 71st in the country in scoring defense. And not exactly your classic Florida State defense under Bobby Bowden.
And Mickey Andrews, the architect of the defense, and we just saw McMullen, a nice catch on a ball that was not thrown very accurately up into the hands of McMullen. Jerome Carter and Rufus Brown combined on the stop. It'll be 4th down and 4 when we go to the 4th quarter, and McMullen limping off for UVA after his 5th catch for 101 yards.
That's a nice play by McMullen, the All-American on the outside, and pretty important drive for Matt Schaub. He's trying to reestablish control of this quarterback job, and even though his team is trailing by 33 points, big drive for Schaub in terms of his reestablishing control of the quarterback position at Virginia.
ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
You're watching ABC Sports, the class of college football.
And as we come back live in Tallahassee, Virginia moving before the snap, going for it on 4th down and 4. And this crowd into it.
Dead ball, false start by the offense, 5-yard penalty.
They know if they're going to have a championship season, this defense has to play at a higher level than it has for the last year plus. And a shutout might do a lot to improve the feeling about this Florida State D.
Now Virginia as an offense has just absolutely been smothered by this front seven for Florida State. And the defensive backs for the Seminoles playing pretty well against the pass as well.
So now 4th down and 9. Schaub off the bench, 8 for 10 passing for 125 yards. Running out of time. Dumps it over the middle for Johnson. He's very close to the first down. Needed to reach the 12, and that's right where he is. B.J. Ward made the tackle.
The true freshmen have not gotten a lot of running room in the offense today against the Seminoles, but this is a big-time play by Michael Johnson, a true freshman. I mean, he's dead to rights, short of the chains, makes a great move to the outside, a quick burst of speed, and he picked up the first down.
Just inside the 12-yard line. 1st and 10, Virginia. Opening minute of the 4th quarter. Johnson following the block of Luzar, but couldn't get there to use the block as Boulware penetrated and pulled Johnson down from behind. Let's check in again with John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Sean, we know that the Illini lost Kurt Kittner, but expected them to be a little bit tougher than this against Missouri today. Brad Smith, 25 yards for the touchdown run. They grab a 33-14. Missouri leads with about 12 minutes to go in the game.
Wow. That is a big surprise.
Illinois coming off a BCS game against LSU, and looks like Gary Pinckney has a Missouri program headed in the right direction.
In just his 2nd year there after coming over from Toledo. Marcus Weeks in at tailback. Johnson limped off after the last play. Schaub to the goal line. Touchdown, Virginia. Heath Miller, the redshirt freshman from Swords Creek, Virginia, with the touchdown, an 11-yarder. Miller has 2 career catches. Both have gone for touchdowns, or rather 5 career receptions and 2 for touchdowns.
Quarterback to quarterback, and a nice job by Schaub moving around in the pocket, finding a seam to deliver the ball, and he lays it on the spot to Miller.
Brian Smith for the extra point. And it is good. Heath Miller, former quarterback, with the first points of the day for Virginia. There is a flag down on the extra point. So we'll ask our ABC band to cease for just a moment.
Point is good.
The point is good. Strike up the band. See you in a minute. 33-7, Florida State in control in the opening moments of the 4th quarter. Virginia just on the board after by far their best drive of the game as we look at the Nissan drive summary. They had 4 first downs on the drive, doubling their total for the game. I'll do the math for you, David. 8.
Not a bad drive for Matt Schaub. He hit some nice balls, pick up first downs, picked up a 4th down conversion on a little dump pass to Johnson, and then quite a play on the touchdown to Heath Miller, his tight end. And that means something. And Virginia's got a long ways to go in this season. Hagens came up big last week, and Schaub with an impressive drive of his own in this ballgame.
Kurt Smith's kickoff returned by Crefonso Thorpe. And he's down just across the 20-yard line. See if Bobby Bowden goes a little deeper down the depth chart or if he's going to stick with Ricks and the bulk of the rest of the starters. Well, it looks like the new quarterback, Adrian McPherson, is going to come into the game. McPherson, a terrific athlete, the only player ever to be both Mr. Football and Mr. Basketball. As a high school senior here in the state of Florida. He's from Southeast High School in Bradenton, Florida. He plans to play on the basketball team for the new coach, Leonard Hamilton, when the football season's over. Willie Reed, flag down near the line of scrimmage. Jermaine Winborn made the tackle on Reed. Tempers flaring behind the play as Anquan Bolden had tangled up with Jerton Evans. Another holding call. The 12th penalty of the day against the Seminoles.
Adrian McPherson a year ago was given a shot early on in the season to come in and get some playing time when Ricks got off to the slow start at quarterback for Florida State. We talked a lot about Ricks's athletic ability. McPherson has plenty himself and throws one of the tighter balls you'll see a young quarterback throw. Bobby Bowden opened up the spring practice for quarterback competition, and Ricks played well enough to reestablish himself off that big win in the Gator Bowl.
Well, not a huge passing day for Ricks, but they didn't need it to be. They dominated on the ground. As we said earlier, if you looked at his stats from last year, more total offense than any freshman in ACC history for Chris Ricks. You'd say he had a very good year, but they only won 8 games. They don't care if he throws for 118 yards a game if they win every game.
No, and you go back to 1987. That was the first year in 15 years that this team didn't win 10 games. And of those 14 seasons winning 10 or more games, only 4 of them were 10 wins. The rest were 11 or 12 wins. That's the excellence that the Seminole fans have come to expect.
Unprecedented string of success in terms of the consecutive seasons in the top 5 in the country. Willie Reed, the catch. Bobby does get involved in some of the play calling, because Mark Richt was the offensive coordinator here for many years, left to be the head coach at Georgia. Jeff Bowden was promoted to offensive coordinator, Bobby's son. But as Jeff told us, when Coach Bowden wants to get involved and call a play, he calls the play.
That's not a hard one to comprehend. And he is, as we said earlier in the game, one of the imaginative play callers in the history of offensive college football.
Pearson had all day to throw, finally went underneath, short of a first down, to Willie Reed. Darrell Blackstock made the tackle. He has had a legendary coaching career, and he's passed his idol, Bear Bryant. Bobby Bowden, a Birmingham, Alabama native. Got to know Bear Bryant very well when he was starting out in coaching. Two struck up a long friendship. And when we spoke with Coach Bowden yesterday, he talked about how important it was to him, how special it was to him to move past Bear. But he says he's not really keeping track of where he is on the list relative to anybody. He's just going to keep coaching and hope they keep winning. Booming punt by Chance Gwaltney. Marcus Hamilton returning it to the 35-yard line. 54-yard punt for Gwaltney and a 13-yard return by Hamilton. ABC's College Football Holiday Weekend Bash presented by AT&T Wireless. AT&T, welcome to M Life. AT&T Wireless, and in part by Nissan and your Nissan dealer. By Nivea for Men Aftershave Balm, more evolved skincare. And by the Flame Broiled Whopper from Burger King. At BK, you got it. First and 10, Virginia. Before they can snap the ball, the flag thrown. This is evolving into a very sloppy game now. It'll be the 17th penalty.
Dead ball, false start, offense, 5 yards.
The 5th against Virginia. There's Mike Groh, wide receiver coach, one of The 3 children of Al and Ann Groh. Brother Matthew is at Princeton, began his football practice yesterday.
Visiting with Mike Groh, a surprise. He's a big kid.
Here's Michael Johnson. Hammered down right near the first down marker. Appears to have it across the 45. It will be a first down to the 47-yard line. Then he got belted by Rufus Brown. 17 yards on the game.
Yeah, when I took a look live at that game last Thursday night, Colorado State, Virginia, and got my first look at Michael Johnson, I thought to myself, you know, this kid, if you don't take the right pursuit angle on him, he's going to make some defenders look silly.
Schaub throws over the head of Michael McGrew. Rufus Brown in coverage. McGrew's a junior from Birmingham, Alabama. Quite a football family. His dad, Alvin, was a baseball player. He played professional baseball for 8 years, but brother AJ played football at Vandy, and Uncle Vincent played basketball at Auburn. Cousins Reggie and Broderick played at Florida and North Texas. Cousin Patrick played at Navy, and Dennis Riddle is a cousin who had a fine career as a running back at Alabama. I'd say the McGrews and company, they have a family reunion. They have a pretty good touch football game.
Now he has to hurry his development. If he can continue to improve, he's going to take some of the heat off McMullen on the other side of the field. Virginia needs that for balance.
Timeout, Virginia. They'll ponder this pivotal 2nd and 10. Monday, a primetime showdown. The air conditioning just leaked on my promo card, David. It's all blurry now. Auburn travels west to take on USC. Our holiday weekend bash presented by AT&T Wireless concludes Monday at 8. I hope the air conditioning, they probably don't even have air conditioning at the Coliseum.
No, but I'll be down there. I'm going to try to find a seat or a spot in the press box. That's going to be a good one.
Is that an incomplete pass or lateral? Apparently an incomplete pass over the head of Michael Johnson. It'll be 3rd down and 10. Al Groh, when we talked to him yesterday about Matt Schaub, said Schaub is dealing with this situation very well. There are a lot of people around the Virginia football program who thought, well, after Bryce and Spinner transferred, it's clearly Schaub's team. And Al says Schaub is a really good young man. The teammates like him. He works hard, but he also understands the reality of the situation. If Hagans can do some things to help them win, they're going to play him. The sack from Tony Benford. Starter still in there on defense for the most part for Florida State. Benford, a starting defensive lineman, senior from Denver, Colorado, the first FSU player from Colorado since the kicker Scott Bentley back in the early 90s. A loss of 9 on that sack.
It's just scary, the number of players that this Florida State defense can rotate in and out and among that front 4. They go 3 deep at all 4 positions, and Mickey Andrews utilizes all of them.
Good punt by Hagan, high and long. Dominic Robinson tripped up at the 34-yard line by Patrick Estes. A 45-yard punt, the run back 16. Sean McDonough, David Norrie back in Tallahassee, Florida. The 5th-ranked Seminoles about to go to 2-0 on this season, leading Virginia 33-7 with 10:24 remaining, and Adrian McPherson beginning his 2nd possession at quarterback. And nothing doing on the run for Willie Reed. Jerton Evans made the tackle. Jerton's name comes from a combination of his mother and father. His father's name is Jerry, his mother's name Tanya. That's how they came up with Jerton.
Defensive secondary for Virginia figured to be a big strength for this team coming in, along with the linebackers, and I think the secondary has held up pretty well against a traditionally tough Florida State passing game.
Willie Reed again.
Willie Reed on the carry.
Across the 35 to the 36. Once again, Times Square Stadium is our destination, and here's John Saunders.
Sean, you know that Steve Spurrier has moved on to the Washington Redskins. Florida, though, keeps punching it across. Ernest Graham from 4 yards out. They grab the early lead over UAB, 7-0, midway through the 1st quarter.
The Ron Zook era begins. Former assistant coach under Spurrier, went on to the NFL. Now back as the head coach. McPherson on 3rd down. Trying to escape. Lost the football as he went to the sidelines, out of bounds, well short of the 1st down at the 38-yard line. Chased out by Brian White, a backup linebacker. Sophomore from Knoxville, Tennessee, who had 12 tackles last year as a true freshman to earn a letter. 9 minutes remaining, and Chance Gwaltney will punt. Low wobbly kick, muffed by Marcus Hamilton, still free, and the Seminoles have it at the 34-yard line. Well, it was a very short wobbly kick, and Hamilton, a true freshman, tried to catch it on the run, and he muffed it, and it was recovered by Joey Calachini, a reserve wide receiver.
And more growing pains for Virginia, and Hamilton comes up, makes a nice play to get in position to receive the punt, just forgot to secure it. It's been raining on and off all day, slippery surface, ball's probably a little bit wet, but as a punt returner, your #1 priority, secure the football.
Catch
then worry
the ball.
about
Catch the ball.
Then worry about returning it.
From the 34, play action fake. McPherson with all day, and now he is sacked back at the 40-yard line. Let's get an update on the Tennessee game. Here's John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Sean starting things against Wyoming. This game's being played at Nashville, but Wyoming is really a home game. Took some cash for that. Cedric Houston goes 27 yards for the run as they open up their lead. Now stands at 17-0. About 10 minutes left in the half.
That's quite a home game. Take the cash and let the other team have about 110,000 people screaming for them. On the run, Willie Reed, 1st down. Inside the 25, Brian White made the tackle. 18 yards on the run.
You think Florida State can get some recruiting done? There's the player of the year in Florida handing the ball off to the player of the year in Georgia. And the hits just keep coming.
From the 23. McPherson on target to PK Sam. The sophomore from Buford, Georgia. Tackled by Art Thomas. Let's check the Pacific Life game summary.
Taking a look earlier on, Jones using the power between the tackles. Finds the end zone, and then Schaub stepping up, hitting the converted quarterback Heath Miller with a touchdown for UVA. Their only touchdown of the afternoon.
Jones, the star of the day, 21 yards, 21 carries rather, 173 yards. Reed again, 1st down again. And once again, the tackle made by Jutan Evans.
Willie Reed on the carry.
Not a good sign when your safety is involved in just about every tackle. And we've called Jutan Evans' name a lot today. It'll be 1st and goal for the Noles from the 5 with under 7 minutes remaining.
Yeah, Seminoles have always had the benefit of stretching out a game, getting a big lead, and then getting some of the younger players critical playing time. And these are big snaps for both McPherson and Reed.
Reed again, that was too easy. Touchdown, Florida State. First career touchdown for Willie Reed. And the extra point would make it 40-7. Xavier Bethia drives it through. And with 6:40 remaining, the score is Florida State 40 and Virginia 7. Budding Chief Osceola among the 79,000 here. Hall of Fame weekend. We saw Burt Reynolds in the hotel lobby today. He was here to participate in the Hall of Fame ceremonies. Among those inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Minnesota Twins first baseman Doug Minkiewicz and Warrick Dunn. Football great here at FSU, now in the NFL, of course, with the Atlanta Falcons. Willie Davis brings back the kickoff to the 26.
Not sure there's still 79,000 in attendance.
I'd say about half that still here. From the 25, 1st and 10, Virginia. Schaub, the quarterback. He's played well off the bench. Marcus Hagan started, if you tuned in late, a redshirt freshman. McGrew, the reception. And we'll give you our Chevrolet players of the game. They are Greg Jones, 173 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns for Florida State, and Matt Schaub. Now 11 of 15 off the bench for 153 yards and a touchdown.
Well, this game has been all Florida State, obviously, but Matt Schaub starting to get in rhythm that he couldn't get into last week against Colorado State. He's been impressive.
Here's Wally Lundy on the screen pass all the way into Florida State territory and down at the 34-yard line. Claudius Osei made the tackle. In recognition of the efforts of our Chevrolet players of the game today, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. 34-yard gain and an injured player down at the end of the run. 8.2 yards per carry today for Jones. They have rushed for 346 yards, and they have 501 yards of total offense today.
There's no doubt that Florida State is showing the ability to move the ball on the ground. I think the big question mark for the Seminoles is, are they going to be able to get Ricks going with the talented wide receivers on the outside, Morgan, Bolden?
That's Kevin Bailey, the center, who Al Grove says is one of the 2 best centers in the ACC, along with the Seminoles' Antoine Marambo. Bailey was a tackle and a good one last year. They were having problems along the offensive line. Al Grove called him up, said, "Have you ever played center?" Bailey said, "No." "Have you ever snapped the ball in your backyard?" "No." "Well, we're going to try you at center this week." Bailey said, "Fine by me." He took to it very quickly, and their offensive line did get better at the end of last season as a result of that and some other changes.
Virginia Tech had a couple big wins down the stretch. Penn State, Georgia Tech for Al Grove last year, and a big part of that was Bailey moving into center and Elton Brown and Mike Mullins taking over the right side. You hate to see Bailey go down in the 4th quarter in a 40-7 game, because without Bailey, this Virginia offense does not stand a real good chance of being competitive week in and week out in the ACC.
And it's a tough call for the Virginia coaches. Obviously, you want to risk some of your starters, but this is a very young team. You're trying to get experience together. No better experience than game experience, although this has not been a great experience today. Schaub got belted by Charles Howard.
Schaub 3-step drop, and that's pretty tough as a quarterback on a 3-step drop if you don't have time to get the ball out of it. I mean, the quick passing game is designed to pretty much keep your quarterback clean, and you get another look at the speed off the edge of these Florida State defenders.
Zach Yarbrough, the center now, taking over for Bailey. A pump fake by Schaub. He throws to Ryan Sawyer, and a nice catch. Jerome Carter had the coverage, but Sawyer with an acrobatic catch along the boundary, and it's a first down Virginia at the 18, a 16-yard pickup.
Well, I've liked the look of Schaub late in the 3rd quarter through the 4th quarter here. He's been getting back in the pocket, set up. He's kept that right foot loaded and throwing the ball on time.
That's the first catch of his career for Ryan Sawyer. Schaub into traffic, and a nice catch in traffic made by Ottawa Anderson at the 10-yard line. 2 yards shy of the first down. Bryant McFadden, a reserve defensive back, had the coverage.
McFadden thought he had himself a pick there. A nice play by Anderson. Catch that ball in traffic. Last week, Anderson, one of the skill position players for Virginia, that had a key turnover against Colorado State.
Schaub dumps it off short for the tight end Patrick Estes. And he's stopped at the 9, a yard short of the first down. Florida State with a lot of starters still out there, including Michael Boulware, the junior from Columbia, South Carolina. Former high school state player of the year. And of course the brother of the great All-American, now with the Baltimore Ravens, Peter Boulware.
It's hard to believe how this game of football at the college level has changed, and Bobby Bowden has had a lot to do with that. All the speed he puts on the field defensively, an outside linebacker in Boulware running a 4.36 40. Unbelievable.
3rd down and 1. Here's Estes with a touchdown for Virginia. Off the fake, Schaub found the tight end Estes.
The one positive that Al Groh is going to see on the film when he watches tomorrow is Schaub's utilization of the tight end. Schaub had a touchdown pass a week ago to Heath Miller at the tight end spot, and then carries it over to this week with a touchdown toss to Miller and to Estes, his 2 big pass catchers at that tight end position.
Brian Smith with the extra point. No good. Clanged off the upright. 4:21 remaining. 4th quarter. 40-13 Florida State. McDonough, David Norrie back at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. 4:21 left, and Virginia continuing to battle, even though they've been hopelessly out of this one for a long time. Scores again. Tomorrow, defending SEC champion LSU takes on number 16 Virginia Tech as our holiday weekend bash presented by AT&T Wireless continues. That's tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, ABC Sports. The class of college football. And without the NFL regular season underway yet, chance for a little Sunday college football, Monday college football here on ABC.
Can't beat that. A lot of people picking LSU as a surprise team. No surprise that they had a big Sugar Bowl win against Illinois earlier this year.
Kickoff by Kirk Smith, taken by Leon Washington. And he is thrown down by Ryan Sawyer. We'll spot the ball at the 20-yard line. 4:10 remaining. A very impressive victory today by Florida State. The penalties will bother Coach Bowden, as will the turnovers. But they have thoroughly dominated Virginia, outgaining them 501 to 268.
Seminoles have seemingly been on cruise control from the opening kick. Al Groh is going to have to take another recruiting year or 2 to reload. I think this Virginia program is going to be heard from pretty soon. Maybe not this year, but the teams that are going to jump up and challenge Florida State in the years to come, I think Al Groh has the perfect platform to do just that.
That was Thomas Clayton who got the carry. Freshman from Alexandria, Virginia. His first carry. McPherson still at quarterback. And P.J. Salvidio, the backup fullback, former walk-on, with his first carry. There's a young man who spent a summer at the U.S. Naval Academy, enjoyed his plebe summer, and then decided he didn't want to continue into the academic year. Transferred to Florida State, walked on here, and is now the second string fullback.
The depth at fullback and tight end was a concern. Probably the only chinks in the armor of this Florida State offense coming into the season.
Here's Clayton again, a flag down. Clayton down at the 40. It's thrown where you would expect a holding call. At this juncture, you would think the officials may be a little more understanding.
That's a good way of putting it.
Tonight, Ty Willingham on the Fighting Irish sideline for the first time as Notre Dame takes on Maryland in the Kickoff Classic. The Holiday Weekend Bash presented by AT&T Wireless continues tonight at 8, 5 Pacific. ABC Sports, the class of college football.
The Irish have a shot in that one?
Oh, I think they have a shot in that one. I think they do very well, though, in this first year under Coach Willingham to win 6 or 7 games.
That is a murderous schedule that they've lined up in South Bend, and some of the followers of that program think that this Maryland opener is a swing game.
There's Clayton again. Tried to bounce outside and could not. He was tackled by Alex Hall, backup linebacker, redshirt freshman from Corpus Christi, Texas. His dad, Ed, played at Oklahoma and was a team captain for the Sooners back in the mid-'60s. I think the talent level is way down at Notre Dame, and they have had other players leave the program for disciplinary reasons since Willingham got there. He'll build it back up, I believe, but it might be a rough year. Man wide open. Travis Smith, reserve wide receiver. Senior from Miami, Florida. Getting a rare opportunity and making the most of it as he went all the way out to the 45 with a first down.
And McPherson at quarterback making the most of his opportunity. And a lot of fans, a lot of people watching may think that this isn't a game to be watched very far beyond the second quarter, but a lot of these young players getting very valuable experience, and Adrian McPherson is one of them.
Ball comes out. Cavaliers saying they have it, and apparently they do, as Florida State is coming off the field. Alex Hall, we were just talking about Alex. They covered the fumble, so Virginia takes over with 1:49 left. A couple of the bulbs out on the scoreboard. It's tough to tell if it's 148 or 149. Well, these two teams, after today, David, will have played 2 games. And we're still in August. 13-game schedule this year for the Virginia Cavaliers. And there are still 5 Division I-A teams that have not played their first game. That's Marcus Weeks. The ball came out, but he was down. Michael Boulware and Kendall Pope made the tackle. Do you have any guess on the 5 Division I-A teams that have not played a game yet? You should get one of them very easily.
I think there's a couple Pac-10 teams in that group. UCLA.
There you go.
For one.
Thought you were going to miss the layup.
USC.
That is correct.
USC plays on Monday.
That's Weeks.
And
Arkansas, Army, Ball State, Stanford have not played yet, according to Joe Sullivan, our crash statistician. So that's wrong. Send your emails, cards, and letters to Joe Sullivan at ABC Sports. We thank Joe, our spotter Chris Helen. Our telecast today, produced by Jim Ressler, directed by Dick Buffington. We thank the gentlemen for their efforts and the rest of our ABC Sports crew here in Tallahassee. One minute to play. Schaub wants some more points to take back to Charlottesville. He threw it too far for Ryan Sawyer. It'll be 2nd down and 10. Stanford Samuel still out there at cornerback. He's a junior from Miami. Idolizes Deion Sanders. His dad, Stanford Sr., was a student here, finishing up school when Deion was playing in his first year on the campus. 2nd and 10. Virginia at the 26. Trying to set up the screen. Here's Marcus Weeks. Down to the 13-yard line. Kyler Hall made the tackle. Hall, the starting safety, and he's still in there. They're trying to replace their first team all ACC safety from a year ago, Chris Hope. The catch made by Ottawa Anderson. He's pulled down by Pope and Brown. 33 seconds left, and Virginia desperately hoping for one more score to make the final margin of victory look a little bit more respectable. Virginia with just 29 lettermen back from last season. That's the fewest since they brought 23 back in 1981. They have just 10 seniors on the roster. But they have another touchdown. Ottawa Anderson catching the pass from Schaub. So if there's a good thing that's come out of this for Virginia today, maybe with Schaub at the controls, they're developing a little confidence and a little sense of rhythm here in the second half.
Well, they've done a couple things well in the passing game. They've done a good job protecting Schaub, and there are a few starters still in the game for Florida State. Talked about Samuel still in at cornerback. Schaub has done a good job of getting back. He's gotten set and he's made some good throwing decisions. And pretty quickly here, the score has gotten a little bit more respectable. And I think that's something that Al Groh and his team can take out of Tallahassee as well. This game could have been a lot worse when you look at the scoreboard.
Brian Smith has to stop aiming for the right upright there. Schaub 19 of 25 for 247 and 3 touchdowns. They've missed 2 extra points. It's 40-19 with 29 seconds left.
There's no doubt Schaub has some passing ability. He doesn't bring the same mobility to the table that Hagans does at the quarterback position. But Virginia has traditionally been a drop back passing team. And when you got a Bill Musgrave at offensive coordinator and Al Groh NFL style offense, I think Schaub is the quarterback style that lends itself a little bit better to the Virginia program. And I think they will continue to use Hagans as well for his option ability and his mobility at the quarterback position. You're going to see both of these quarterbacks, I'm pretty confident, the rest of the way for Virginia.
They were picked to finish near the bottom in the media poll in the ACC, ahead of only Duke. But as Al Groh said, coaches coach, players play, pickers pick. That's what everybody has to do. They're not going to pay much attention to the prognostications. They hope if this young talent blossoms, they'll do better than that. But they still need another recruiting class or two. Thomas Clayton running back the kickoff. I thought it was amusing yesterday, David, when Al Groh told us some schools are using their one good recruiting class that they had against them, telling prospective recruits in this class, well, they have a lot of talent there now. Also, we got some guys, but we certainly have plenty more room for a lot of good players. They certainly don't have the depth of talent of a lot of these major college football programs, including Florida State. Marcus Hamilton injured on that kickoff return.
There's no doubt Virginia has plenty of room to reload, but Al Groh also made the comment as we look at Florida State's remaining schedule. The big game, of course, October 12th at Miami, but Al Groh made the comment that we've got some kids on our roster right now that are the type of kids you see sign at Florida State, Miami, University of Florida.
He said last year we played them, we didn't have any of our guys who really looked like one of their guys. So now we have a bunch, but they're young. They get another bunch, they'll be that much more competitive. They're trying to help Hamilton off the field. Apparently it's a left leg injury. I've been waiting all day for the Kleisler passing book.
It's been a long time coming.
Can we say one before we go?
I'll tell you what, Florida State has 2 great wide receivers that are back this year on the outside, Robert Morgan and Anquan Bolding. And the timing routes from Ricks in the pocket, especially on the short passing game, are going to pay big dividends. Quick 3-step drop out of the gun. He fits the ball in behind the linebacker. And Bolden, with his size and running ability after the catch, picks up extra yardage. And the more they can get the ball to Bolden and Morgan on the outside to complement the running game of Jones and Maddox and that big offensive line, and Florida State has some serious chances of contending for another national championship. And they've played in 3 out of the last 4 title games. And I was going to say this at the top, Sean. I think the road to the national title still goes through Tallahassee until somebody else proves different.
Leon Washington, the ball carrier. What should be the last play of the game. They'll stop the clock for a moment to move the chains. But they don't have to run another play. A 16-yard gain for Washington. So Florida State will go to 2-0, and I think the locals feel a lot better about the state of affairs after this victory than they did about the squeaker against Iowa State. And Virginia 0-2 with this young team, with South Carolina coming next into Charlottesville. It won't get much easier. Final score, Florida State 40 and Virginia 19.